Hey, welcome to the channel. This is MacCam89 with my first review, and today we're going to be checking out a game that I enjoy. I'll tell you right now, it's not a very good game, but I enjoyed it. This is the retro review of a History Channel Civil War: A Nation Divided for the Xbox 360. Now, this game did come out on the PS3 as well. I believe some older consoles like the PS2. Being that this game kind of chugged along at times, I can't imagine that it played very well on the PS2. I'd be interested to kind of check it out on there at some point. But I have played this game to completion. Honestly, I think my favorite thing about this game is actually the artwork. I think the artwork is actually very good on the cover. Actually comes with a beefy size manual. The sequel version, which I just picked up, I'll be doing a playthrough of that and putting that on the channel, and I'll probably do a review of that as well, of that retro. The manual is not as thick as this one. But this is a pretty thick, good size manual. Has some interesting things about the battles that you're playing through in this game, the weapons that you're using. It is in black and white in there, but it's still cool. As somebody that's a history buff and things like that, I enjoy this. The presentation, like I said, is probably the best thing about this game, because when you every time you start a battle or end a battle, it actually has some real History Channel commentary and photographs and real historical documentation of what was happening during that time in the Civil War, during that battle that you're playing through in the game. And I really like that. As somebody who grew up watching the History Channel before it became all that garbage reality TV. You know, some of the shows are kind of cool, but back when they actually played history programs, it was cool to see that in this video game. I actually picked up another History Channel game. I'm probably gonna try to at least play through all of the History Channel games. I don't think there's that many, but I obviously did play this one. I picked up the sequel. I'll be playing that one shortly, and then I also picked up the Pacific War one as well, which I actually remember playing at one point. It's not a very good game. If I remember correctly, it's a lot worse than this. This was actually enjoyable at times. So where do I start? So again, I said the presentation was actually pretty good. Again, I think that's the best part of the game. Graphics wise, it's okay. I mean, it's what you expect from an earlier Xbox 360 game, especially a budget title. I wasn't expecting anything great. It's not great. The character models are kind of goofy at times, not very realistic looking, but it gets the job done.
Don't forget me.
I think my biggest gripe would probably be some of the hit detection type stuff with it, and I think they were trying to simulate the guns not being very accurate during that time. So there'll be times where you'll shoot somebody that's not very far away from you, and it's almost like they don't really react to it. It could take 3 or 4 bullets before you take somebody, even at a closer range, which you would think these guns, you know, gunpowder and stuff, they'd be doing quite a bit of damage, especially at closer range. Now, this game tries to be a mixture of what I call Medal of Honor and Call of Duty. And when I think of the Civil War, I think of more like massive or bigger scale battles where there's lots of soldiers around you, those types of battles. Now, I understand, digging into the history of the Civil War, obviously there were smaller missions that did happen, and the sequel actually focuses more on that. But this was supposed to be focusing more on those larger scale battles. And I think the biggest problem is when the game tries to be more Medal of Honor, where it's a single individual taking on almost an entire army on its own. And the issue with that, with this game, is it doesn't work too well because of how slow the guns are. You know, you're not going in there with a submachine gun and being able to take out 3 to 5 enemies. You get overwhelmed pretty quickly. And there's some guns that you do acquire in which they have a faster speed. But even then, it's not really suited for that type of gameplay, that Medal of Honor gameplay. Now, when it tries to be Call of Duty, that's actually when I enjoyed it more. And there were specific battles that happened, our specific campaigns like Chattanooga, and this one where you're going through the trenches, and it reminded me of a more Call of Duty style where you had buddies with you, and to me that felt like a much more faithful Civil War game because you weren't getting bogged down and overwhelmed when you're trying to be a 1 versus 5. Your AI companions were actually helping you, and it made it feel like you were fighting like a real gritty battle where there was lots of guys around and things of that nature. And I think when the game tried to focus more on that Call of Duty style, it was more enjoyable than as opposed to the Medal of Honor missions. There was actually a mission where you're trying to sneak around, or at least that's how they want it, the intention of it was, but it didn't work. It's you know, they'll spot you no matter what you do. You know, I tried to go up and knife somebody, but they catch you like every time, and then the whole camp is alerted. And honestly, even though they're telling you, oh, don't get caught and things like that, like it didn't even matter. You get caught and everybody's attacking you, and it didn't really matter. It's not like you failed the mission or anything. So it's like they tried to do that stealth type thing, and it doesn't work for this type of thing. They really should have focused more on those Call of Duty style moments in this game. I think the game would have been more enjoyable. Again, not to be like super fast paced, but when I say Call of Duty, like companions around you helping you out, I might be referring to maybe the earlier Call of Duty games where the AI it felt like you were fighting a war with other soldiers. And when this game did that, it did it well for what it was.
Kill them all! This is from Uncle Travis! They're on the run! They're on the run! Hide! Hide!
The sound when you heard it was pretty good. The issue is the sound when you were hearing it like further away. It was non-existent. What I mean by that is like you'll be seeing enemy soldiers in front of you shooting you, and you can see the smoke coming out of their guns, but there's no sound. There was many instances where you're going through a mission and you'll hear like background noise. So they were trying to simulate, even though you were kind of like that 1 versus the world, they were trying to simulate it through sound, like there was other battles happening around you and voices and things like that. It didn't really work for me. When you did hear the sound, though, it did sound pretty decent, especially for a budget title. I think they did a great job with the smoke particles when you're shooting the guns and things like that, and the smoke and the sound. They did a decent job with that. Trying to think if there's really anything else that I can say about this game. Do I think it's worth the playthrough? The game is not very long. I think I beat this in under 3 hours. And if you actually took your time, explored, you can probably find all the secrets, complete the mission, play in higher difficulties, and still beat it probably within that 3 hour to 3.5 hour mark. It's not very long. I think for what it is, it's an enjoyable game. It's not going to wow you. It's not going to offer up anything new that you haven't seen before. I think it gets a greater pass from me, being that it's a Civil War game, and that's not really something that you see. I can't recall, other than PC games, strategy type games, I can't really recall any other Civil War games. I know there is like a third person, I believe. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there is a third person type game on Steam that's Civil War based. But other than that, I for consoles anyways, I've never seen a Civil War game. So I think from that it gets a little bit more of a pass. I would probably rate this a 5 out of 10. Not the worst game in the world, but definitely isn't going to blow you away. And that's my quick thoughts about the History Channel's Civil War: A Nation Divided. Again, my favorite part is probably artwork. Thank you for watching, and God bless.